Yay, we're live. Welcome everyone to Think Small. This is episode 4 with composer and pianist and librettist and multi-talented Felix Jarrar. Welcome, Felix.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to get to talk to you because you write all this amazing music, especially focusing on art song and opera, which I know is something that many composers I talk to are super excited about getting into or continuing their work into. And I was just curious if we could start the conversation with, you've been writing operas for so long, and songs as well, and you've been doing this even during the pandemic and getting works that are premiered and you're self-producing. And can you talk us through this progression of where your art has gone from when you got started in writing opera to now, and how did things sort of progress from one project to the other?
Well, Lisa, it was kind of like a gradual process because opera is so vast. And I saw my first opera when I was 11. It was The Marriage of Figaro, and I fell in love with the form. It's a great first opera. It has a lot of wonderful tunes, and the comedy and the humanity. It really resonated with me. And in 6th grade, I went on that field trip that you go on when your parents don't allow you to go camping. So like they take you on like day trips all week. And so one of the day trips was to a playhouse. I don't know who programmed the plays. It was Charlotte's Web, Amelia Bedelia, and Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. So
Wow.
that was actually my first exposure to Edgar Allan Poe, was through play adaptation of The Fall of the House of Usher. And I saw this and I was like, wow, like I want to write an opera on this piece. And having not read the story, not really known a lot about Poe, but then I backtracked and I did, because I loved to read as a kid. So I was dead set on doing this opera doing this play as an opera. And basically, my journey then took me to when I was 15 to when I actually wrote my first opera, which will never see the light of day because it's like a hot mess. It was called Apollo and Hermes. I wrote it about like the Greek god Apollo and Hermes and how they became like the god of messenger god and the god of music. And so that was a huge learning curve, because it's like, okay, cool. Because I was also studying a lot about the form. I listened to a lot of bel canto opera. That's a huge influence of mine. Talking about specifically 19th century, Rossini, Donizetti, Bellini. My piano teacher, Burton Hathaway, had a huge like record stack of them and all of the books. So I was just reading that. I just kind of had to grow up. Then fast forward to when I was 19, when I was an undergrad. I had the opportunity at my undergrad school. It's not a school with majors. You design a 2-year course of study that is your degree. So my degree was composing, writing, workshopping, producing, premiering an original opera. And I decided to go back to The Fall of the House of Usher. So that ended up being my second opera. And it was my first opera that was performed professionally. It was done in Vermont at Marlborough College, at a theater there. And then we had a sold-out run off Broadway at the Domena Center.
Wow.
Which was really great, because a liberal arts college, they give you funding to do research projects. So my research project was, writing an opera. So it was the easiest way for me to ever get money for a production ever since. Like I've never, like all the times after that have been so hard with all these grants and stuff. Like my school just gave me everything. They're like, oh, we have a grant for this. Like, and the school is really small. I graduated with like 40 kids. So like, it was just, I was stupid lucky, and I took a lot for granted. So that kind of like got me started on the chamber opera track. And that's where I met Bede Goodwin, because I was able to hire her to direct The Fall of the House of Usher. And so she's not only directed all of my pieces that I've also written text and music for, she's also a wonderful librettist too. And I've also collaborated with her. So from there, I did my grad school at Brooklyn College, and we wrote a song cycle together called Songs of the Soul Beams, because we each had like losses during Usher. Mine being my father's, hers being her grandmother's. And so we wrote a work about mourning loss. We premiered it at BAM, and then it went to toured at LPR. And we had a really great time collaborating on that. And then we wrote a Christmas opera, Christmas Carol, the Dickens, everyone knows. And then Tabula Rasa, which is a jazz opera, which we did for NY Opera Fest 3 years ago. And we've also done like a lot of songs, and also while I was doing that, I also wrote my master's thesis then, Mother Goose, which was a drag opera, and art song, which kind of I began to focus on especially a lot in grad school, because I was, even though my degree was composition, I was working with a lot of singers. I played in like Paul Sperry's class. He would teach the art song classes and stuff like that. That's when I really started working professionally, also the collaborative pianist, which I still do a lot of, and coaching and stuff like that. So from there, kind of like, I'm the sort of person who like doesn't fit in a box. So it's like, yes, I'm a composer, but I'm also a pianist, but I also do this, but like each thing informs the other. And that kind of led me to write like all the songs that I've been writing, and sort of last year kind of that went on steroids, because, you know, I was locked in the house and couldn't go outside for fear of dying. So I was like, okay, so what am I going to do? Because there was an opera with B that was postponed. I had concerts in Boston. We were talking about a concert in LA. I had like a lot of things that were going to be lined up that I was looking forward to, which never materialized, like so many people. Like, this is everything we've experienced. But I had to figure out, okay, I want to take the time to like mope about this, watch my Netflix, drink my wine, like have a good cry. But then like, what am I going to do? Like, because it's going to last a real fucking long time. So I was like, right. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get my ass up and I'm going to do something. And so I discovered also that I can do the iPhone recordings and for piano tracks. So I was like, okay, so this works and they can put it together, you know? And so that inspired me to just go on this songwriting binge. I started with this song called The World is Quiet and Empty, which was kind of my initial reaction to the pandemic. Sort of, it was just me processing things. And then from there, I wrote so many, I'm not even going to go into what I've written, because it's a lot, even for me to think about and look back. And I also keep a list on my computer. I'm like, oh my God. But so I sort of just like did a deep dive into that. I also like revisited I studied some German. I set some German text, took a stab at a French text for a live stream. I just got commissioned to set a Russian text, which I just turned in, and that sort of worked. And I don't know how it did. So like, yeah, so kind of that was like my journey. And then in the interim online, I dove into micro operas too, because, you know, just with people's attention span and like doing something well, as opposed to just doing something. And because opera is such a huge undertaking, and like, it's like not being in person for so many things. And also like with B directing stuff, like, you know, we didn't go to film school. We don't have that background. Like we're musicians, we do live theater. So we focused on the micro operas. So Patience and Pearl, which I wrote with her, and then The Oval Portrait, which I did with Opera Elect. So I sort of was like able to, in microcosm, explore those ideas, which was really awesome, because I got to, you know, familiarize myself with new stories and new ways of thinking, and also like present like challenges, you know, like writing a monodrama is like, what's that like dramatically? How does that work? Vocally, what does that mean for a vocalist that really doesn't get so much of a break with other characters? How does that work? Like, and then also adapt The Oval Portrait's a Poe story. I also have a fascination with Poe, side note. So like, how does that work, looking at the stories and everything? So it's a huge process. So basically, from the time I was a kid to now, it's sort of just been like, I sort of just go with the flow, and whatever is thrown at me, I sort of take it, and I take it in a positive way, and I try to make some good energy come out of it, just because it's what we do is like, it's really difficult to do. It's really hard to get it on the road, do stuff. It's, you know, composing is such a mind fuck. It's a game in your head. No, it is like, you have to like figure things out. So this kind of gave me the tools to like really just work on that and not worry about anything else. I didn't have to worry about going to a concert. I didn't have to worry about, you know, going to a recording session. I didn't have to worry about practicing like some crazy ass piece or something. Like, I had all the time in the world, like, kind of.
Wow, that's interesting, because I've talked to like a lot of people there. Some people have that pandemic experience, and then like they're the people who sort of felt like it was 100% more work, you know. So it's such an interesting, this year has been so many different things to so many different people. You know, I wonder, the sort of the impetus for all these great conversations I've been having with people has been, we often, like musicians or composers in particular, have these dreams of like really big dream works that we want to do. And you've written some awesome, like longer operas and gotten them even recently. The Mother Goose performance, that was really recent that was performed. Yeah. And then also you talked about like chamber opera and you used the word micro opera. And I wonder, like, can you sort of share a little bit about the different sizes and scopes a little more for maybe people who, maybe don't know those terms as much, or use those terms are thrown about and can mean different things. Like, what do they mean to you? Chamber opera versus like quote unquote full length versus micro opera. And what do you feel like are the strengths of the different options genre wise?
Oh, I love this question. So this is going to be specific to my output. Yeah. I think it's different for every composer. So I consider all my operas chamber operas because I write for small ensembles. And I love that because I get the intimacy of chamber music, and also they can actually get produced. So even if it's a full length, like some of the full lengths, it's still like piano quartet, it's a quartet for the end of time ensemble, Piero without percussion, violin and piano solo. And I'm a pianist, so, that knocks out one instrumentalist right away. So there's also like, okay, like scarcity, yes, but also like I'm a practical guy. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to get this done? So, so chamber opera, so basically the size of the forces. So you don't get like an orchestra with like 10 violins, 6 violas, 4 celli. You have like a string quartet, or you don't have woodwinds in 2s or 3s. You have a woodwind quintet, even if that. So it's sort of just like small scale. And then those can range from anywhere up to 2 hours with intermission. All the operas basically are like, I cut myself off at the 90-minute mark, like of nonstop music, just because I get bored. So like so the longest ones with intermission can go up to 2 hours, but then micro operas, for me, it basically is any opera like under half an hour. I know some people are like 15 minutes and under, but for me, that's kind of, because I have like 3 and they basically fall under that category. So, and those are like, I imagine those like being able to be programmed not only like individually if they wanted to do it, but also like on a concert of micro operas. So it's like sort of like a small scale kind of recital, not like a Tales of Hoffman or something, or like a Il Trittico, which is a huge evening. This is sort of like, a recital program, but everything is a little opera. Yeah. Which I think is like a really interesting idea. I
think it's so awesome. And I'm just such a big fan of this because I love opera and I love theatrical things. And I know so many opera singers who want that. They love art song, but they also love opera. And it is different, I think, to perform a story, to perform with staging, even if it's a monodrama. And there's been such a need for people to be able to have access to this art form as performers and to bring that art form. And what I think is interesting is you're talking about this, like there's a practical side, but you don't seem too bummed out about it. And I wonder, like, for those composers dreaming of the orchestra and the chorus, what can you offer them? How have you gotten excited about chamber or micro opera, or what has surprised you that maybe young Felix seeing Marriage of Figaro with, a full orchestra or something? Like, where's the value in this that's special and different that maybe someone could get excited about if they haven't thought about it yet? Or how have you done that for yourself?
Yeah, I think the way is about it was that I always just like imagined like the instruments that I write for, but also I'm also someone that likes to do things well, and I like to focus on things and also with instrumentation with opera, you have to know how to orchestrate besides write for the voice. So it's like, so I feel like there's a lot of useful skills, like if you want to, because like you're not gonna graduate from conservatory writing for orchestras. That's not gonna happen. So like that's kind of like a myth. So like, but so basically you kind of just have to learn how to work in like the smaller chunks, and sort of that leads to bigger stuff. That's how so like I've always also imagined like the instruments I write for, because I also just have a huge love of chamber music, and I studied a lot of collab piano rep in undergrad that was like very heavily influenced with that, and one of my composition teachers was a cellist, so like kind of also gave me the opportunity to like, so for example, in the Fall of the House at Usher, each string instrument represents a character. The violin represents Lady Madeline, the viola represents the friend, the cello represents Roderick Usher. So like, I kind of was able to write, like, I like get into the nitty gritty of cello writing, like in a way that if I had just been writing like a standard orchestral piece, I was able to also work with soloists. So like, because there's a lot you can do, but then you have to know your limits around it. But then once you do, you like see, I like was able to see, oh my God, I can do all these things, like all these quadruple stops, all these different kinds of pizzas. And so it kind of like opened up it's sort of how I think about this is like this work I've been doing is like, it's opened up boxes and ideas that I hadn't thought of before. And it's just kind of led me down a different rabbit hole. And like, if like your goal is to write for like a big orchestra or that, like you have to first learn how to also like small scale do things. So if you want to do that, then like, okay, then think about a smaller piece, think about a string quartet, think about a string trio, think about, you know, an accompanied whatever, just because you really get to learn like the little things in that. Also, if you go to the big pieces, you will see they are not writing for the full tutti all of the time. They really sectionalize it. If you look at Strauss, if you look at Berlioz, you know, they have the fuckers with the big orchestras, Mahler. There's a lot of really intimate, beautiful moments, a lot of soloistic writing. And if you don't know how to do that, you can't write for a big orchestra. So it's like everything like leads to the other, you know? So that's how
I love it because I think like what I really appreciate is, you know, hey, sometimes like maybe we really really are dreaming of the big piece, and maybe we sort of do feel like I'm settling, or I still have that dream. And like what I love about what you're saying is you're like acknowledging that like, yeah, you don't get to do it right away. That's just kind of like the reality. And someone can either, if they're feeling bad, like sit around in the corner and feel bad for themselves, or they can move on. But also that it opened up some interesting artistic doors for you that you don't know if you would have explored right away. And so like, I think that's kind of this nice benefit too, that like we can acknowledge the practical parts of our industry and also say, hey, some cool artistic discoveries are made when we write for chamber or when we have some limitations. And I think that's really inspiring. I would love to have you share a little bit. You've self-produced these social distancing salons and some other productions, like your solo unaccompanied song, The Tree, that had like a music video component that was so beautiful. And I was wondering, like, for you, when you produce something that's an event, like what makes it an event, especially like these online events, and what elements do you pay attention to be sure that the event will be a success?
I really love to make sure that there's an overlying theme or some kind of programming element, just so that there's some kind of consistency also with the marketing. So like, for example, there was, I did a live stream called Looking for Artist True Release, but it was like all of these fun, flirty songs, a couple I'd written with B, but then we also programmed some Schubert and like, just to change it up a bit. And then Aria from Tabula Rasa. So it's kind of all about like what makes, it's like programming a recital, but it's programming it online. So a lot of those things I still listen for, you know, I'll listen to make sure that, you know, the accompaniment tempo is right, that the singer, if they have any questions, when I'll coach them via FaceTime, just like, okay, there's this and that. So like, there's still that aspect, but then also like it's like so collaborative because the singers also like do the video work and I like do so it's very much like a collaboration. They help as much as I do. Like for The Tree, Josh did that whole video. He like figured out how to do it. So it like makes my job easy. I'm like, because like the way that like these things work is like, you have to think of it as a team. Like you're just not by yourself as a composer, but people don't tell you that. Like you work with these performers and you're both invested in it. And it takes like a little village kind of to get the piece on the road. And so these social distancing salons have kind of built like an online community of people. Some of whom I would have never, like I wouldn't have met Josh Collier if I hadn't had quarantine. And now we work together all the time. And so all of that, and we've developed this beautiful bond. And so many others, and also other collaborators before the pandemic. Like it's created like a nice shift and a nice element of just getting things out. So that's how I feel about it.
So you invited people that you'd already worked with, but also you reached out to some folks that you hadn't had a chance to work with in person and invited them to be part of these?
Yeah, I did. Each one was kind of different because, so Josh, I reached out to him because he was doing social distance opera with Barn Opera. They ended up doing
Mm-hmm.
Patience in Pearl, one of my micro operas that I wrote with B. And so from there, we just were like, oh yeah, just like talking, and things came up from that. And then I also worked a lot with Kirsten Kunkel and Caroline Spaeth, and those two sopranos. I've never met them, but we've done a lot of work together because we somehow connected through someone, or I did a track for an aria for somebody, and there was like a mutual thing, and I heard something in their voice that was like, oh wait, I think I have a piece that might work for you, because I'm someone that believes in like writing for specific singers and not voice types. So I listen it closely also to people I work for. So like I can so if I hear something that a piece I already have written that is perfect for someone, I'll be like, so Caroline, she's perfect for Lady Madeline. So when I heard her sing, I was like, oh, by the way, I have this mad scene, the final mad scene from The Fall of the House of Usher, and she was so game for it. So you like also never know. You kind of also have to put yourself out there with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you've really built these relationships up. And from where you are now, having gone through different degree programs and being a collaborative pianist as well as a composer, now you have like so many relationships and you're continuing to grow it. So it probably kind of seems like it just happens organically. But, that can be kind of mysterious for people.
Yeah.
I think especially a lot of composers maybe that are just starting out, or maybe have a lot of friends in one instrumental group, but maybe not in the singing world or not in the string world. Like, can you break that down for people who are feeling intimidated about how to even start that process of networking? A composer who maybe is like, nobody wants to play my music, or I don't know anyone. Like, what would you tell them? What could you advise them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in undergrad, I did a whole tutorial. So it's like a one-on-one course study I designed about producing an opera. And so part of that was I had to organize auditions and audition people, and then like contract string players. So granted, I got a grant to like do all this, but I was in Vermont and I wanted to do it in New York, and I was 19 at the time. So I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So basically I had to learn to like cold email people. I like if someone knew someone in the game, that's like, hey, like I got your email from such and such, I have this thing, either ask them to do it, or if you know people who would be interested in auditioning, that kind of thing. So you really have to like, you kind of have to, and also like what I would do is like, I'm someone who loves to like keep documents of notes and notes and notes. So for like project, I will have like write up something. So if I'm emailing someone, I'll be like, hey, I'm interested to see if you want to do this. Here's a bit about the project. Copy and paste what I have, including the links and everything. Personalize it, obviously, because I'm not going to email someone named Lisa, hey, Kyle. But don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. But like, it just like creates like okay, so that's how you do that. And then when you also like, then, you talk to them, or if you meet them, then kind of like, be able to like talk about the project and stuff. And because no one's going to be interested in it unless you're interested in it. Like if they don't know anything about you, and you like don't have, a huge catalog out there. And when I wrote The Fall of the House of Usher, I didn't have a huge catalog out there. So I was very much like having to say, hey, this is my music, this is what it was. And I'd like have, I'd have like the printouts of pages and like all of that. And I'd like, so you kind of just have to be proactive about it, because it's not something that like you should wait around for people to like do. It's like, oh, like you wrote an opera, do you want like a doggy treat for that? Like, no, like you have to like go out there and like do it, because no one is going to make it happen. Even when you're like also approaching companies to do things, you need to have like a dossier to do it. You need to have like the score and everything, but you're the one that has to do it. And the nice thing about Marlborough is that like the retention rate is like 50-50, because it's a school that they don't motivate you to do something, but if you want to do something, they will give you every opportunity to do it. So like if I didn't want to do it, they would have been like, okay. And then I said I wanted to do it, they were like, okay. So like you have to have that self-motivation. Otherwise, like, and also like continuing outside of school, like it's super important, because that's how you like get introduced to people. And then somehow I've been lucky in that, okay, I've put stuff out and then people have responded. And then I also did last year Black Lives Matter audition initiative, where people would donate $5 to Black Lives Matter, and I'd give them access to the audition arias. That's still ongoing. So I met a lot of people also through that who like did not know me. So
wow, that's really neat. So you're not taking any profits from that, from
no.
the score. I'm not sure if you get royalties off of arias or not. Probably.
I mean,
Possibly.
I just joined BMI earlier this year.
Okay.
So
I know like
I'm not
full
yet.
dramatic works, but I'm not sure about excerpts. But
Yeah.
but basically, so you've decided to kind of give those in exchange for a donation to someone else, which is really neat. Like, how do you decide to do that? You know, because we're all artists and we need to like put food on the table too. Like, how do you decide when to do that? And looks like this had like a really neat return in terms of like you're getting a lot of networking out of it, which is great. Plus you're raising money for an important cause, which is, these are reasons enough. But also, how do you balance that like with when you need to get some food on the table from your art?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So basically it's like, okay, I have these, but I also coach and I accompany and you can hire me to do that. So so there's like that boundary of that, like, yes, if you have that, that's great. But then I also have this, and also all this music has been composed or I wrote it for commissions or for schools. So I have it all like ready to go. Like it's not hard for me to drop it in a G drive and just do that. But then like for future stuff and everything, then I have my rates, I have everything. And so you kind of just balance it out, you know, when I'm talking, it's like, oh, cool. Like, here's the thing. If you want to do this with me, X, Y, and Z, just like make it very clear so that they don't walk all over you. But you kind of have to know, like, if you're going to give something, then what you're going to take from it. So in this thing, opera is like really racist. So I'm like, and I founded the minority research group at my undergrad. So I've been like very involved with this. So like the whole Black Lives Matter awakening was great for the rest of the country, even though I've known about it for a long time before that. So I was just frustrated, and I just was like wondering, what ways can I like feel good about making art? Because like there was a time where I didn't feel great about it because it was like, okay, we like Black people are suffering, like people, like it's a real problem. And even still in the industry, they're so stereotyped with what they're able to be offered. And there's so many problems. And I really wanted to the way I see it is like, okay, the way that you can solve it is with money because we live in a capitalist society. So what can I do to help with that? Okay, $5, that's for like art, for like PDFs for new music, that's like nothing. So like, okay. And then if people want to, some people have also donated more, which has been great. But then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, which has been awesome. It's almost like $500 have been made almost through it.
Oh my gosh, what a great initiative! That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. But then it sort of has just led to other things, so it's been good. As long as you like have a plan of where to do something. Like if I just had like here's my music, peace out, then that's not like ideal. But you kind of just have to be proactive with that. And at the time I was teaching online. So I was like, this wasn't like my main gig was not coaching my music.
Sure.
It's never been like ever. I don't know if it'll ever be. But like, so I had like different, I wear many hats. So I could balance it out with my other hats. So
that really reminds me of Matthew Kennedy talked about his project during the quarantine and how all of the proceeds to that have been going to different charitable causes and different important causes. And I think that's so neat. And he also shared that one reason he was able to do that was because he was diversified and he didn't need that income, and he wanted it to go back, and he didn't want to make that something that was about him. And I just think that's really neat, and neat to talk about like how you think about it, because also as artists, we do need to have those other income streams coming in. It's not wrong to need that. We're living, breathing people too, and we can make this difference like you are. And I just love, like, you were sort of talking about that process of networking and meeting people, and it sounded like some of the things that you really were ready to do at those moments of interacting, whether it was on email or in person, were like ready to share samples, ready to describe verbally or in text, and had prepared and had done some work to write out some stuff that you were ready to send about what is this project. And I think that's so useful for people to know that, that preparation is something that it's not fake. It's not like salesman slimy, like not genuine. It's actually all the preparation that allows you to speak and communicate why this is such a neat project and why someone should want to join and partner with you. So I just really admire that. And I think it's true. Like for those of us who have spent a lot of time maybe in school or on our own digging into orchestration books or digging into theory books or just writing and rewriting, there can be moments when learning, oh, I need to learn another skill. That can seem like such a bait and switch, but it's so true, and it's so important because it's collaborative, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I also had to learn how to do it. Like, I'm not someone who is naturally good at speaking in public. Like, it was something I had to learn how to do as I was performing my music. And like, people would be like, yo, you're stuttering way too much. Like, you're talking way too fast. Like, so I have to practice like before everything, because it's like, it's sort of like a mindset. So it's like, you have to sort of think of that. Like, as a performer, when I'm performing, I'm in a mindset. So when I'm talking about my music, that's a mindset. So it's just like, it's sort of like, it's a training. So you just have to think about it like with the musician skills, but like in terms of, I mean, I'm not a singer, so I like using my voice to describe it, which is different. So it's sort of, it's not, you don't have to be naturally good at it. I'm not naturally charismatic or that kind of thing. I had to learn how to do it because I want to make music and I want to collaborate, but no one's going to do it for me. No one will do it for you either. So like, and that's what music schools don't like emphasize enough. So thankfully, like my teachers were like good about like encouraging me with what I was doing. But like, I know for some, I won't say names or anything, but I know like, for things that's like can be a issue.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's so important. And it is something I hope will come into more of the university training and be spoken about more, because it's true. Like, most of the jobs that I get are not audition jobs where all I do is walk in, sing, and then leave. Like, it's mostly word of mouth. It's mostly interpersonal. And those auditions, I usually have to talk about myself too.
Yeah. Even I've also like played auditions as a pianist, like for companies, and they're like, oh, you're a composer, like give us your website. Like that's also happened. So like there's all these kinds of things, like, you know, that
Right. So like by being out, even like when you're not like, oh, I'm here as a composer, but you actually are, because you're a composer and pianist. It's not like you're never you.
Yeah.
And being ready for that.
Also, one of the singers had one of my operas on their resume, and they recognized the name. They're like, "Oh, you," and I'm like, "Yeah."
That's great. See, I love that.
That was really funny, actually. So yeah, that things happen.
I love it. Well, you have so much going on. Like, is there anything coming up for you that people should be watching for, or even if you can't announce, where could they watch for any future announcements to come from? If there are things you can't quite tell us about.
There are things happening, and I'm excited about them, but I can't announce them yet. I can tell you my Instagram, the original Fifi, _original_Fifi, F-E-F-E. I'm very active on that platform. My website,
I'll put it in the chat.
My website, www.felixjarrarmusic.com. I update. So that's where, and also you can find recordings to my portfolio, my YouTube channel, my SoundCloud, the Black Lives Matter Audition Aria initiative. So currently I have all of those, and just, you know, stay tuned, because there are things. I wish I could talk about it, but
that's all good. It's terribly mysterious. I'll drop
so
your
mysterious.
I'll drop your Instagram handle in the comments after we're done. But Felix, this was so great to get a chance to talk to you, and thanks for joining us on Think Small. The whole point of this series is to uplift these different projects, small and not so small, but to talk about like how those big achievements have happened, and the sort of the different steps, like whether it's practicing how to talk to people, or whether it's, you know, writing an art song or two, as well as the giant opera. I mean, I think what you've shared is so useful and really inspiring. And so I hope people go forth and write and perform wonderful music, including music by Felix. Go check it out. Thanks so much, Felix.
Thank you.
Awesome.